Alright, this is John Cola with OKRod.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. In this episode, we're going to go ahead and do some whiteboard, but on my laptop, and we're going to go over some published scientific studies as well as information that I feel is important to share because not many people are sharing it, especially in the raw vegan community, even in just standard vegan communities, and even just the general population does not know about this stuff that I feel is so important. I'm dedicating a direct video to. There's a lot of people in raw foods that are doing it for their health. Maybe you guys got in a plant-based diet for your health. You know, maybe the diet you're on, you're doing it for your health, right? And so that's why I'm making this video, because one of the most critical parts of your health in this day and age is your microbiome, whether you want to agree with that or not. A lot of the different diet styles that are out there were invented, created, thought up of before there was research, and they even knew about the microbiome, including the raw vegan diet, came into existence before the microbiome was even discovered, and this was not taken into consideration when choosing to eat, or, the founders that made the raw food diet, how to eat. Now, I know you're saying, John, animals don't know about their microbiome and they're fine. Here's the thing, guys. I try to lead an evidence-based life. I take the evidence, the science into consideration, along with everything else I've learned, along with all my personal experiences, both what I've seen by doing testing on myself and also hearing other people's experiences, right? The raw food diet, as much as I would like to say, works for everybody and it heals all diseases, right? People that say that are lying to you, right? I don't know why people say this. They should get sued or something, but people are still saying these outlandish claims. One of the reasons, and there's many reasons why a raw vegan diet can work, right? But one of them is because if you're eating a standard American diet and then you go on to a raw vegan diet, you are immensely doing a huge favor to your microbiome, because the standard American diet barely feeds your microbiome, and a raw vegan diet can really ramp up and build your microbiome to a really great place. That being said, depending on you, your situation, your microbiome on a raw vegan diet, based on the limited studies I've seen from friends, may be really good or it may not be so good. So just because you eat raw vegan doesn't mean you're automatically going to have an amazing microbiome, because, just like any diet, you could eat a vegan diet, and a vegan diet could be healthy or it might not be healthy. You could eat, ho-hos and ding-dongs and vegan chips and soda. That's a very unhealthy vegan diet. Likewise, in my opinion, you could eat a very limited and restrictive raw vegan diet. For example, eating only fruits. I personally believe that's quite restrictive. Hey, yes, I know people that have done it for many years, 30 years or whatever, all these years, 7 years or whatever. I'd really love to see their microbiomes. And I mean, the goal of this is to kind of educate you guys about this stuff. If you guys want to learn more about my personal microbiome test, I'll put a link down below to that so you guys could learn more about it. Anyways, let's go ahead and just get into this episode today. So the thing is this, man, I know a lot of you guys don't keep up with the science and you don't know these things, and that's why I want to bring it forth, because sometimes I make microbiome videos and people will just, John, that's not important, man. I don't really care about it. But, here's the thing, man. If you care about your health, you should care about your microbiome, and more importantly, the foods you choose to consume and what they will do or not do to your microbiome. Every time you eat a food, you are making a choice, right? A choice for health, of course, eating something healthfully, a choice of eating just something because it's convenient and fast, like a donut, when you hit the drive-through, or hamburgers and hot dogs. But I want you guys, when making choices on what to eat, I want you to consider the microbes inside you, your microbiome. How will this food that I'm eating affect your microbiome? This is something that I've never had to take into consideration until the last few years in my raw vegan career. And I've seen my health change. I've seen friends that have gotten their microbiome testing done, and I've seen them make some just small changes. I mean, they're not like going carnivore, I don't recommend that, but they're making small changes in, their skin conditions, such as psoriasis, is cleared up, right? Whereas they tried all different other things in the past, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but this time it's really working. And this is the reason why, in my opinion, and that's what I'm going to show you guys, the science in this episode and the importance of the microbiome. Anyways, let's get into this subject. All right, so you guys can see here's a published scientific journal study from Frontiers in Microbiology. Just published late last year, September 2022, and it's basically called Human Gut Microbiota in Health and Disease, Unveiling the Relationship, right? And, you know, we could go over this whole thing. It's like 14 pages long. I'll put a link down below in the description, you know, if you guys want to review it yourself. But I'm just going to go over a few parts of this. Basically, it says, the dysbiosis of the gut microbiota is therefore linked to various human diseases such as anxiety, depression, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, obesity, diabetes, inflammatory bowel disease, and cancer. And then it goes on to saying the different mechanisms and all this kind of stuff. And you could just page through it and read it. And these are all published reference studies. I know some of you guys don't believe in science. And, you know, that's up to you guys. If you guys want to live your life by believing or not believing in science, you know, I personally believe in the science, you know. So anyways, I want to show you guys this figure number 1. Let's go ahead and blow it up for you guys. Figure number 1 basically shows the gut microbiota. So like in your gut, you know, your whole digestive system has many different places that microbes can live. Your stomach has 10 to the first or 10 to the 3 CFU ml, and these are some of the microbes that are in there. So that's a lower quantity. The duodenum has 10 to the 1 to 10 to the 3. Also, you know, different microbes in there, part of your microbiome. The jejunum and the ileum have 10 to the 4 and 10 to the 7th CFU, so the microbiome content is going up. And then if we get to the colon, look at this number, guys, 10 to the 10 and 10 to the 11 CFU. And that's really in your colon where the majority of our microbiome lives, and that's generally what is being studied at present time. I'm not familiar with the, you know, implications of microbes in these other areas, but I am more familiar with the colon because that's usually the research that is cited. So here's the thing, guys, you should have certain kinds of microbes in your colon. And if you don't, it's called dysbiosis of your gut microbiota. And what could happen, right? The gut microbiota communicates with different organ systems in your body. It's really popular to talk about the gut-brain axis these days, right? And the gut microbiome can impact things like stress, anxiety, depression, IBS, schizophrenia, cognitive decline, and autism. But there's also other axes having to do with your microbiome. The gut-brain endocrine axes, regulatory, metabolic, behavioral, and hormonal disorders. There's the gut-heart axis, cardiovascular disease, atherosclerosis, thrombotic events, hypertension. There's the gut-lung axis, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. There's the gut-liver axis, liver inflammation, hepatocellular carcinoma of non-alcoholic fatty liver. There's the gut-pancreas axis, diabetes, pancreas, cell inflammation. There's the gut-bone axis, bone demineralization and osteoporosis. There's the gut-muscle axis, muscle impairment, frailty, sarcopenia. There's the gut-skin axis. I talked a little bit about that myself, including acne, psoriasis, atopic dermatitis, wrinkles, aging. I would include in there things like eczema, dry skin. Also, there's the gut reproductive axis, including infertility, ovarian dysfunction, ovarian cancer, postmenopausal osteoporosis. There's the gut kidney axis, chronic kidney disease, acute kidney injury, inflammation, nephrolithiasis, neuropathy. There's the gut bladder axis, urinary tract infection, overactive painful bladder. So here's the thing I'm going to tell you guys. I'm not a doctor. If you guys have any of these health challenges, go see a qualified practitioner, hopefully a natural one. That being said, that if you have any of these situations going on in your body, your gut microbiome may or likely to play a role in that. So it is connected. Like literally you change your gut microbiome, you could change all these different organ systems in your body like a lever. Like imagine the Wizard of Oz guy, right? He has these levers that pulls things and things happen. You know, you can just pull one lever, change the microbiome, shift your microbiome, and a lot of different things can change. And that's, you know, honestly, one of the reasons why a plant-based or even raw vegan diet can work, because when you start eating the healthy foods, right, it feeds your microbiome. But my question is, Can you even make it better than just the raw vegan diet that was not necessarily designed to improve your microbiome, although it does, because anything more than the standard American diet is definitely an improvement in your microbiome. So going back down to this published study, we could go down and you could read all this stuff, but I really want to go to this figure number 2. This is figure number 2, and you guys can see once again the different axes, how your microbiome could affect the different organ systems in your body. And the way this happens is because, you have a healthy microbiome, your short chain fatty acid production goes up, your antioxidant production goes up, because it's not just the antioxidants that we eat, but the microbes can make these things. Inflammatory mediators go down. A recent study showed that actually drinking or eating fermented foods, such as this fermented kefir, can actually cause your inflammatory mediators to go down more than just eating fiber alone. Anyways, you could see, your healthy gut, like lining could be better. You could have less gut inflammation. Your insulin sensitivity could go up. Your vitamin production could go up. Beneficial metabolites could go up. It benefits your immune system, mucosal immunity. Body fat deposition could go down, right? If you have a wrong microbiome inside you, you could be more likely to be overweight, for example. So this is really the effect of the microbiome. It can affect all areas of your health. Maybe you've been living on a raw vegan diet. You feel great, but you still have, something going on with you for many years. One of the things I'll tell you guys straight up is that for many years, on a raw vegan diet, I've been getting my bones scanned and my bone density done, and my gut bone access may be a challenge for me because I've been lower on the bone density. Some raw vegans have explained this by, oh, John, since you don't carry as much weight, your bones don't have to be as strong. Of course, exercising and doing, like jump roping or muscle building, and we were actually testing the bone density in my ankles. So maybe if I jump rope and then still ate a good diet and had all my vitamin K and vitamin D and calcium, which I'm pretty sure I get on my specific diet, right? Then maybe you don't have the right microbes in your gut, and then that still may cause an issue because your gut microbiome is out of balance. I don't know all these connections. I just want to share it with you guys as just an initial step in the importance of the microbiome. So, there's 2 ways to feed your microbiome, right? You could eat probiotic foods, which we're really not going to cover in this episode. I'll put a video link down to this company, the Kefir Lab, right down below. This is the most powerful microbiome mediating product that I've found online, or anywhere actually, because it has over 100 trillion CFU of microbes, and that's a lot. I mean, some of them may not survive digestion, but some of them will get to where they need to be. This is specifically cultured for health benefits as a functional food versus just having some, 6 billion probiotics in there on maybe standard fermented food. So if you guys are looking for a probiotic food, definitely recommend the Kefir Lab kefir. That being said, I ferment my own products, and I'm drinking a fermented juice right here, which there are also published studies on. Actually, this is probably the first, I've mentioned it in passing, like my fermented juices. It's nice and naturally carbonated by the bacteria. But yeah, that's a whole different subject that I'll have to make another video on one of these days. The benefits of fermenting fresh fruit and vegetable juices. Anyways, that being said, aside from fermented foods, the other way to feed your microbiome and modulate your microbiome is what most people think of is fiber. There's many good books on this topic that kind of, breach the surface. Fiber Fuel by Will B. And we're gonna go into the fiber here, right here. And check it out, guys. This is what I really want you guys to be aware of, right? Not all dietary fiber is created equal. Cereal fiber, but not fruit or vegetable fibers, are linked with lower inflammation. But John, grains cause grain damage. They cause inflammation, blah, 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 blah. I mean, you guys may have been taught different things. And yes, for some people, absolutely, some people's microbiomes cannot handle grains. If you get a microbiome test, as I show, once again, my link is down below, you can see that there's microbes in us that could better or worse handle things like grains. Anyways, there's a published research study from Columbia University that the results showed that the total fiber and more specifically cereal fiber, but not fruit or vegetable fiber, was consistently associated with lower inflammation and lower cardiovascular disease incidence. And I know raw vegans want to think, I'm eating the best diet, man, because I eat fruits and vegetables and they're the best. You know, and when I started seeing studies such as this one, and this is just the new study that came out, I saw a study a while back where they compared vegetable fiber to like flaxseed fiber, or, you know, like nut and seed fibers to like cereal fibers, right? And here's the thing I'm learning, man, guys, in science, is that everything's not always so cut and dry. Fruits and vegetables are not always the best, right? Yes, they are great. They're some of the healthiest foods on the planet, and most Americans and most people around the world don't eat enough fruits and vegetables. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we get other different kinds of fiber that have different kinds of vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, and the fiber, because not all fiber is created equal. So that's why I want to have this in here. So next, let's look into the prebiotic and fiber. So this is an infographic I want to go over real quick from the ISAPP, the International Scientific Association for the Probiotic and Prebiotics, right? You could check them out. But anyways, they go over understanding prebiotics and fiber. And you could read about what is a prebiotic, and it's basically, a prebiotic is a food or something that basically encourages your microbiome, your resident microbial community, and that we cannot digest. And then it says, what is fiber? Fiber are non-digestible plant-derived carbohydrates comprising of at least 3 units of individual sugars. Most fibers are components of plants. But here's the thing. Not all fibers are prebiotics. So not every kind of fiber is going to feed your microbiome. Some fibers just kind of go right through you. And it says, do we need both fiber and prebiotics? Most of us do not get enough fiber in our diets. Increasing fiber-rich foods and prebiotic-containing foods or supplements will help promote gut health and benefit your gut microbiota too. And when you promote your gut health and your microbiota, you know, maybe you can stave off some of the different diseases out there, or get rid of some pesky things that have been going on, you know, with you that, you know, haven't been resolved through the raw food diet that some people claim will heal every disease, right? In many cases, yes, in my opinion, going on a plant-based, minimally processed, fruit and vegetable dominated diet can help our bodies heal, because our bodies really do the healing. It's not the food. And provide us the nutrition, and more importantly, feed our microbiome. And for many people, just doing this haphazardly may work. For some others, it may not work, right? So there's lots of benefits of including prebiotics into your diet, such as improved mineral absorption, modulate immune system, modulate satiety, improve bowel habits, reduce occasional constipation, diarrhea, for example, promote metabolic health, insulin resistance, healthy blood lipid levels, help with symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome, reducing the risk of allergy. And of course, there's also benefits of eating whole food fibers. And prebiotics are selectively utilized by resident microbes. So here's the thing. Prebiotics have targeted effects on our bacteria. Most microbes won't be affected. Selective utilization is a requirement for a prebiotic. Prebiotics encourage the activities of a subset of your microbiome. What does this mean? All these big fancy words. I'm going to explain it to you guys, right? If you guys got 2 kids, right, and you go to the buffet, right, one kid likes the pizza. One kid hates pizzas but loves the hot dogs. I mean, don't eat either of those foods. But nonetheless, each kid, you know, will like a different kind of food, right? Same thing, your microbes like different foods. Certain prebiotics will feed certain bacteria, and certain other prebiotic foods will feed other bacteria. And what I found from my personal microbiome test is that I was really good at feeding certain bacteria known as Prevotella, which is actually deficient in a standard American diet, but really abundant in agrarian societies. And I was doing a really good job at that. I actually had an overgrowth of this beneficial bacteria, which then did not let other bacteria, you know, thrive in my gut microbiome. So I'm currently working on lowering my Prevotella. Now, I don't know what's going to happen to you when you guys do your microbiome test. Maybe you're going to have certain bacteria that are out of balance so that your overall test will not be that favorable. That's up for you to check. But anyways, this is the main chart I want to show right here on the bottom. And it says fiber, not digested by humans, but some fibers are utilized by gut microbes, right? So some fibers are utilized by gut microbes, not all. That's very important to note. Just because you're eating something that has fiber in it doesn't mean it's going to feed your microbiome. Naturally present in many whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and legumes. Adequate intake specified daily value of 28 grams a day based on 2,000 calorie diet. Can be soluble or insoluble. And then you can go down, it says insoluble such as cellulose and soluble such as psyllium. And it says some microbiome modulation. So yes, eating fiber will modulate your microbiome. But then check this out, degree of microbiome modulation. It's on the low end. So yes, fiber will modulate your microbiome to some little extent, and it depends on the types of fiber you're specifically eating. And of course, some fiber are prebiotics, but some fibers are not. But then we can go to prebiotics, and it says prebiotics are not digested by humans, but acted upon by gut microbes, naturally present in a wide variety of foods from plants. And they specify the specific plants because some plants have more of these prebiotic fibers than others, such as chicory root, such as vegetables, whole grains, usually isolated from whole plants or synthesized from sugars. No adequate intake level or daily value is currently being recommended by governments at large. And this is, I think this will change in the future personally. I believe that everybody should eat a prebiotic-rich diet because when you eat more prebiotics, you are considering your bacteria and going to feed them. Although, I would say just increasing prebiotics in general can be good. If you, eat too much of any one type of prebiotic fiber, you may be selecting for certain bacteria in your gut and potentially cause an overgrowth. So it says many current prebiotics are a type of soluble dietary fiber. And so it lists some of the fiber prebiotics here, which we'll go over in another slide. And then there's also non-fiber prebiotics, including lactulose, which is actually not lactose. It's different. That's like a man-made sugar. I'm currently taking lactulose, for specific reasons to actually decrease my Prevotella. Also things like polyphenols, right? I'm big on polyphenols. I always encourage you guys to eat things like purple vegetables for their anthocyanin content, a polyphenol. I encourage you guys to eat lots of different colorful foods. Even things like chocolate have polyphenols, coffee have polyphenols. Doesn't mean you should go crazy on those things, guys. But, I don't know that I would necessarily exclude them like I did when I was younger, as well as polyunsaturated fatty acids. And it says right here, proven microbiome modulation associated with health benefits. So that's why, you want to really make sure you're getting some prebiotics, or at least minimally foods that contain prebiotics. So actually, let's go into the next slide, which I love a lot. Prebiotics 101, right? This is another great infographic. This is actually from the prebioticassociation.org. I encourage you guys to check them out and learn about prebiotics. These are very important components to a diet that I believe should be mandatory or should be stated in FDA, whatever, nutrient values, but they don't currently. So I want you guys to be ahead of the curve. That's why I'm making this video. And while it says prebiotic sources are food, fruits and vegetables right? Very important, all fruits and vegetables will have certain prebiotic effects, some more than others. Onions, garlic, green bananas, right? They don't say ripe bananas, they say green bananas because it's the starch before it's converted to the sugar that really feeds our microbiome. And I have a slide in one of my past videos where I'm talking about this, and you can see basically the prebiotic fibers tank and go down significantly once your bananas ripen even just a little bit. Chicory root, Jerusalem artichokes contain the richest amount of prebiotics. And that's how most of you guys get your prebiotics, is from food. Aside from food, you could also take dietary supplements. So prebiotic supplements on their own combined with probiotics. And so I've bought in some dietary supplements, prebiotics. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then it says functional food and beverages. You can find foods like cookies, yogurt, cereal bars, digestive tonics, and others that are fortified with prebiotics. So, I consider this prebiotic food because literally the formulation is made so actually the probiotic could grow in this culture and have over 100 trillion. Of course, there's many different foods now that add in prebiotic fibers, and that is just a growing trend in the processed food industry. So prebiotics nourish the good bacteria in three main ways. They support and feed, they balance and optimize, and they increase and produce. So prebiotics help balance the microbiome, which increases the short-chain fatty acids and lead to multiple health benefits, including gut health, digestion, immunity, regularity, and stress, mood, as shown by the science. So once you get a microbiome test, you could see approximately, based on your microbiome, how many short-chain fatty acids should be being produced. And you want to make sure you got pretty good numbers, like on the acetate and propionate, I'm kicking butt. I'm like above the average amount, but on the butyrate, I'm a little bit below average. My goal is to get that up. So anyways, I really love this part of the infographic here. It says types of prebiotics, and these are all the different types of prebiotics according to the Prebiotic Association currently, and let's go over them. So inulin is one type of prebiotic fiber. That's a kind found in chicory, Jerusalem artichokes, onions, and garlic. But then there's also resistant starch. I did have a video on resistant starch and the importance of resistant starch as a prebiotic, and most raw vegan diets, in my personal opinion, are pretty low in resistant starch. But of course, in my video, I share with you guys ways if you guys want to maintain your raw vegan label, how you guys could still get resistant starch in you. Link down below for my video on resistant starch. Of course, resistant starch abundant in heated and cooled things like potatoes and sweet potatoes. I encourage you guys to select purple sweet potatoes, and I currently do heat process my potatoes and sweet potatoes in an instant pot, which is the best way to heat process them to avoid creating carcinogens. Of course, another prebiotic is pectin. So yes, guys, eat your apples. Apples have good source of pectin, as do many other different fruits. But once again, that's only one type of prebiotic. So all right, so maybe you're eating garlic and onions, you're getting some inulin, you're getting some pectin. Maybe you're getting some resistant starch sometimes, depending on what you're eating. Maybe you eat an unripe banana or something, some kinds. And also there's select fibers, so such as acacia fiber, which, you know, a lot of you guys definitely don't eat. I have bought an acacia fiber supplement in the past, and that has actually shown some good science with the benefits that including acacia fiber could be for us, but that's not necessarily commonly eaten food outside maybe Africa or something like that. There's also fructooleosaccharides, or FOS, which is another prebiotic that can be in foods as well, depending on the food choices you are making. In addition, there's human milk oleosaccharides, or HMOs. I am currently taking an HMO product. You know, some people think, oh, you don't need that, John. Well, you know, for me personally, I believe I do, because I was not breastfed as a child. The human milk oleosaccharides are the third largest component of breast milk. And you got to ask yourself, why did God or nature or whoever basically make breast milk very high in these human milk oleosaccharides? Because when you're a child and you feed these human milk oleosaccharides to the babies, right, it helps them to develop their microbiome and feeds specific bacteria, including bifidobacteria. So you have a very high population of bifidobacteria, which some of the studies have shown to, you know, reduce things like allergies and asthma. And these are things that I had as a child, likely, but not entirely, caused by my lack of drinking human breast milk. So I'm trying to restore my gut right now, and that could have set my microbiome off on an avalanche on why I had a health crisis when I was younger, and now at least going on a raw vegan diet basically helped it to rebuild, but now I need to even go further. So that's why I'm really into the microbiome, and I want you guys to be at least a little bit concerned about these things. You know, I'm not going to say you need human milk oleosaccharides. You guys should check into it and see if you agree with that or not. If you guys are interested in some of the different products I use and prebiotic fibers I use, I'll post a link down below. I have an Amazon store that I've been putting together because everybody's always asking me, John, what kind of different products do you use? What things do you buy for vacuum sealing? And all this, what stuff to use for your mouth, your dental, and I have videos and all these things. But in my Amazon store at amazon.com/shop/John Kohler, we'll throw it up right here on the screen for you guys. You guys could find all the different products that I use if you guys just want to see what I'm using, right? But yeah, I just make that available for you guys, so you guys just find the different products easily, all right? Of course, things like glucans or beta glucans, you know, often known in different, like, you know, Cereal grains like oatmeal has beta-glucan. Some people eat oatmeal on a raw vegan diet and many people don't. Also things like mushrooms. Some people eat mushrooms on a raw vegan diet. Some people don't, right? But maybe you're not getting those glucans if you're avoiding things like mushrooms and oats, right? There's also isomaltooleosaccharides, or IMOs, that I haven't really looked into too much. There's also polyphenols that could feed your microbiome. So if you're eating things like pomegranates and like dark purple foods, I know definitely the anthocyanins, one of my favorite words, and one of my favorite polyphenols, really feed your microbiome, such as the Akkermansia. That can be quite beneficial. Maybe some people never eat pomegranates because you can't find them, you can't get them, right? I would encourage you guys to choose like black grapes, which are higher in polyphenol content than, say, you know, the green grapes, right? Always choose those darker colored fruits whenever you guys can, right? And there's also the lactulose, which is also another type of prebiotic that's actually man-made sugar. I'm currently taking that. There's also yeast hydrolysate that I have not looked into myself. And there's also bacteriophages. So bacteriophages are not necessarily food for your microbiome, right? But the bacteriophages basically make a nice habitable environment for your microbiome, because the bacteriophages will basically attack the bad bacteria that basically can displace your good bacteria. So if you guys understand that, and there's a few bacterial phage products out on the market that I'm, currently researching and I probably will be taking soon to see if that's going to help me out. Of course, things like omega-3s are definitely a prebiotic as well, feed your microbiome. And I encourage you guys, especially if on a raw vegan diet, you want to mind your omega-3s and make sure you're getting omega-3s, whether it's from flax or chia, or better yet, from leafy greens, and eating large quantities of fresh leafy greens that have more omega-3 content than ones that have been, in the store. I mean, just like a month ago, I was picking my own lettuce out of my garden, and I would use the outer leaves in a salad, but then the little inside baby leaves, as they're emerging, I just take those and eat them, and there's like a nice oil coating. No, I didn't pour oil on them, but the plants basically secrete this kind of oil stuff on it, and to me, it just tastes so amazing. And of course, other phytonutrients in plant foods can also be prebiotic fibers for you. So yeah, there's a lot more to prebiotics than just eating fiber. The other thing I will say is that, it's common that one of the things you want to do is increase your fiber content. And yes, everybody should get a minimum amount of fiber in their diet. But in my opinion, some people may be eating too much fiber, right? Because not all fiber are prebiotics. I mean, yes, fiber is good for us, but at a certain point, once again, like in life, there's always it's not always good, bad, right, wrong. There's like a level, right? You want to eat the right amount of fiber for you. And if you're having all these health challenges, if I just eat more fiber, everything's going to be fine. Yes, fiber is one component, but maybe you're eating too much fiber. So that's why sometimes I like to remove some of the fiber that I'm taking by juicing, for example, because I'm eating fiber-rich foods all the other times in my day, and fiber fills us up, so you can only eat so much. But when I'm making fresh vegetable juices predominantly, right, I could get some of those phytonutrients and still some of the soluble fiber in the juices and eat less fiber. Of course, besides eating more fiber, I think a more prudent approach would be, eat lots of fiber, but then also consider some of these other prebiotics that aren't necessarily fiber. All right, so the last slide I want to go over today is right here. It's presence of inulin and oleofructose, that's the FOS, in the diets of Americans. This was done a while back, and basically it said that most Americans don't eat enough prebiotic fibers, and that's why if you went raw vegan, right, or even just plant-based, you'd getting a lot more of these products. But basically I want to go down to table 1 because they actually have a table of inulin and oleofructose content in foods eaten by Americans. And these are some of the foods that have the highest levels of the inulin and FOS, or oleofructose, that I talked about in the preceding slide. So I know some fruitarians will say, John, I get inulin and oleofructose in my bananas, man. And yes, that technically is an accurate statement. So let's take a look. Bananas. If they're raw bananas, you're going to get an inulin between 0.3 and 0.7. The midpoint is 0.5, and that's for the inulin, and the oleofructose 0.3 to 0.7, 0.5. And then dried bananas, it's a little bit more concentrated. The water's removed. So it's 0.9 to 2.0. So it's 1.4, and it's a 0.9 to 2.0, 1.4. And canned, I don't recommend canned bananas, but you can see actually when you can stuff, it definitely goes down. So you could like, yeah, John, I'm getting lots, you know, because I'm eating fresh bananas, 0.5, you know, grams per 100 grams of bananas. But then, hey, we go down to asparagus. Some people hate asparagus. I love asparagus. It's best fresh out of my garden, right? I pick it fresh. It's just so tender and delicious. Look at that, man. We're just going to go down to the midpoint numbers. Midpoint is 2.5 for 100 grams of asparagus. And once again, it's 0.5 for bananas. So literally, you could eat 5 times less asparagus and get the same amount of inulin as the bananas. And let's go down to chicory root, guys. Chicory root is clearly the winner, right? I mean, chicory root, if you guys can't find that, you can maybe find like dried chicory root. If you have dandelions growing in your lawn, hey, dig that up, because the dandelion root is pretty much a chicory root. In my book, anyways. 41.6 grams per 100 grams. That's like 40% inulin, guys, in there. And if we look at the FOS, it's 22.9. That's insanity compared to the 0.5 of bananas. So seeing how adding some vegetables to your fruit diet can be quite helpful in terms of inulin and oleofructose to feed your microbiome. And I know some people avoid garlic because it's toxic, but once again, you know, garlic is 12.5 on the inulin and 5.0 on the oleofructose. And I know some of you guys, but John, it's antibacterial, man. It's going to kill your microbiome. You know, that's not what the data that I've seen suggests, guys. You know, so we gotta stop thinking in absolutes, right? Every different food has all different kinds of nutrients, and each nutrient, you know, has different, you know, things it does in the body. I mean, of course, let's go up to dandelion greens, which basically I harvested some radicchio, which is basically like dandelion greens or related to chicory last night, and the stuff was bitter. I am not going to say it wasn't bitter. My friend was over, was eating it. She's like, you think this tastes good? And I'm like, yeah, this is fine. I mean, it had a nice, strong flavor. I was good with it. Maybe most people wouldn't be good with it. But look at how dandelion greens rock the world, right? Raw dandelion greens, 13.9 compared to the puny 0.5 for bananas. And how many of you guys eat dandelion greens? And over on the oleofructose, 10.8 compared to 0.5 on bananas. So clearly, guys, like the vegetables can kick butt on the inulin and oleofructose over the fruits. That's why it's so important. And once again, while all vegetables can contain inulin and oleofructose, right, some contain more than others. These are the ones that contain the most. Of course, the winner of this whole thing, I mean, even my favorite globe artichoke, right, that's 4.4. Yes, that has more than bananas, but actually on the inulin, but it actually has less oleofructose than bananas. But the Jerusalem artichokes, which is actually a tuber that is native to North America that the Indians ate before the white man came, is 18.0. So that's like maybe dried garlic is a bit better, but you could eat a lot more Jerusalem artichokes, right? 18.0. That's why most tests of microbiome results always say eat Jerusalem artichokes, because it's kicking ass in the inulin. Yes, now the dandelions are a little bit lower than that, but here's the thing, guys, like you could eat a lot more Jerusalem artichokes because they taste a lot better than dandelion greens. And of course, also 13.5 on the oleofructose. Of course, leeks also have a fair bit as well, as do onions, fair bit as well. And check it out, man. Your dried onions, right, kicking some butt, 18.3 when you dry the onions, because you're basically removing the water content. You're concentrating those source of fibers. And one of the best ways to dehydrate your onions is to make some wraps by Raw Food Romance Lissa. I'll post a link down below to the video I made with Lissa. Basically, I think all her wraps use some sweet onion, right, that have the inulin, have the oleofructose without some of those stronger flavors, right, to get that dehydrated into you and crank up your inulin and oleofructose to feed your microbiome in a very, probably the most delicious way that I've experienced eating onions, actually, in a wrap from Lissa, filled with fruits and vegetables and other things that make it taste amazing. Link down below the video on that, and link down below this video to her store where you could actually buy her wraps book, which I recommend highly. Of course, other things like grains and wheat and whatnot contain some inulin and oleofructose. For the raw bran, which is usually thrown out when you're getting like, breads, 2.5 still kicks ass over bananas, but some of the vegetables rule over the wheat. And of course the barley has a little bit less, and the rye even has less. So yeah, so that's all that I got for today, guys. Basically, I really want to show you guys the power of your microbiome and how it can affect all the different organ systems in your body as proven by science. And here's the thing. You guys may think you're on a healthy raw vegan diet until something happens to you, right? I've had raw vegan friends that get cancer. I've had raw vegan friends that get in the hospital from pneumonia. I've had friends basically lose their lives even though they're on a raw vegan diet. And some of the people, that lost their lives in the past, I like to look at like hindsight is always 20/20. Hey, they were eating a really healthy raw vegan diet. Why did they still get sick, right? And I'm not going to say this is a reason, but I will say this is a potential reason. One of my friends actually had sepsis, when they were in the hospital, and they lost their life of sepsis, right? And you guys could research this, right? There's a sepsis microbiome connection, right? Maybe if you don't have the right microbes in your gut, you're more prone to getting sepsis. I had another friend who was hospitalized and lost his life to pneumonia, which is a lung. So there's a microbiome lung access, and sure enough, when I researched basically pneumonia and lung microbiome, studies came up where they've studied this stuff. So I'm not an expert on all this stuff, and I'm not going to say that's why they lost their life because their microbiome was effective, because I don't know what their microbiome was. But here's the thing, guys. I like to do preventative care, right? I want to make sure my microbiome is in good shape so that in the future I will be protected from potential health outcomes. And some people on a raw vegan diet are not even considering their even I got a microbiome test, John, I wouldn't change what I'm doing. Hey, if that's how you want to live your life, more power to you, man. But I'm going to tell you guys, if you guys care about your health and your future health outcome, maybe you should care about your microbiome. And of course, the best ways to feed your microbiome, yes, whole food plant-based diet can be helpful. That being said, not all whole food plant-based diet items will feed your microbiome or modulate your microbiome as well as others, right? Eat unripe bananas. I know that's counterindicative. They taste nasty, John. But how many people eat unripe plantains on a raw vegan diet? I haven't seen too many. Most people make sure they're nice and black before they eat them. But hey, eating some unripe plantains, you could still maintain your raw vegan status and add an additional prebiotic fiber to your diet, which I think would be good, which is like a resistant starch. But that's one of the many reasons why I started including some small amounts of heat processed foods in my diet. I'll put a link down below to the video I made on why I started adding heat processed foods. One of the reasons for that was getting a greater diversity of different fibers and phytonutrients in my diet. So I really hope after this episode, you will now consider, before you take a bite of the next food you choose to eat, hey, how will this food affect my microbiome? You're at the store and you have the choice. Hey, should I buy some jicama, which is also rich in inulin and FOS, or Jerusalem artichokes? Jerusalem artichokes, they have a similar texture. They could both be eaten raw. The Jerusalem artichokes will have a much greater health benefit on your microbiome than jicama, right? Or maybe you're choosing between jicama and carrots. Hey, carrots, I love carrots for beta carotene, but I believe jicama is going to feed your microbiome a little bit better than the carrots. So I want you guys to, consider some of these things when you are planning out your meals and your diet, besides just, why you're eating for you. Oh, that delicious fruit's good, but you'd never eat asparagus. You never eat chicory. You never eat dandelion greens. I don't think that's going to be, good for your long-term health outcome. Of course, this is just my opinion, and I'll have to wait for future science to come out in the future. But I just want to make you guys aware of all this stuff so that at least it plants a seed in your brain about this, because maybe you guys aren't going to go crazy and study this stuff like I am, so you could just at least minimally follow my channel and you could learn from my journey and what I'm choosing to share with you guys on the microbiome. And, you know, I'm a neophyte, guys. I'm not going to say I know the most about this stuff. I've put in countless hours reading published journal, published studies, listening to educators, doctors who study this stuff for a living, and, you know, I just know like this much. And most people in a raw foods diet know nothing about it. So that's it for this episode, guys. If you guys appreciate this episode, want me to do more episodes on the microbiome and how it can impact your health and how you can improve your health through microbiome, hey, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. More importantly, share this with other people on a raw vegan diet. Share this with other people on a plant-based diet. Share this with other people on a standard American diet. Share this with everybody, because they should know about the gut microbiome access, how it can affect different organ systems in your body and may be responsible for different situations going on and your future healing. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss my new and upcoming episodes upcoming every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. And make sure you click the little bell to get notified as my new videos come out. And finally, be sure to check our past episodes. Our past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 600 episodes at this time on this channel dedicated to teach you guys all about eating a diet rich in minimally processed fruits and vegetables. Links down below also to some of the videos I've done relating to the microbiome, including my video on resistant starch, including my video on reviewing my personal microbiome test and how you guys could get your own done, as well as including my favorite prebiotic product, the Kefir Lab coconut milk kefir shots, and the milk that you guys just saw. So with that, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.